Hello, and welcome to the Prova Waterproofing webinar. In this webinar, we will discuss and demonstrate the various ways Prova waterproofing products make it easy to waterproof your shower systems and surfaces in wet areas. I'm Dwayne Farley, the Technical and Installation Specialist for MD Pro and Prova products. I have over 40 years experience in the industry, and I'm excited to share my knowledge with you in this video. As with all our Prova products, Prova waterproofing products are designed to work in combination with other Prova components to produce failure-free shower systems when installed correctly. In this video, I will highlight all the exceptional technical features as well as the simplified installation process offered by our tile backer board products, Prova Board Plus, our waterproofing membrane product, Prova Mat, and all the complementary accessories that go along with these products. I will demonstrate how our membrane and backer board products can be used to waterproof a regular shower system or a steam shower system, and I'll go over some of the other uses and applications. Prova Mat and Prova Board Plus are easy, efficient options for waterproofing surfaces and are superior alternatives to other waterproofing products. No matter which waterproofing method you choose, Prova's got you covered. You will always have an even, waterproof surface to tile, you won't have to carry heavy materials around, and your installation will be protected against the growth of mold and mildew. Let's get started with Prova Mat. Prova Mat is a low perm rating waterproof membrane. It's ideal for wet areas such as showers, bathrooms, laundry rooms, backsplashes, countertops, and more. Its low perm rating means it provides great resistance to water vapor transmission. Also, if you install it over Prova Board Plus, it's the perfect choice for waterproofing intermittent use, residential, steam showers, and saunas. The membrane also resists mold growth and is easy to install using polymer modified thin set mortar over plywood exterior grade, drywall, backer board, and cement slabs. This 17 mil thick membrane has been evaluated by ICCES and complies with the Uniform Plumbing Code and the National Plumbing Code of Canada. So how does Prova Mat compare to other waterproofing methods, such as liquid applied membranes, and why are sheet membranes the preferred choice among many installers today? So liquid applied membranes are good, but they often require that you layer the product in 2 coats, which typically amounts to a thickness of 20 to 30 mils when dry. The first coat will dry fairly quickly, but probably not as fast as 1 to 2 hours. If you have an issue and have to call a representative from the manufacturer to inspect the installation, the first thing they will check for is the thickness of the waterproofing coat. If the application is too thin, the installation will no longer be covered under warranty. This won't happen with Prova Mat. It always maintains a consistent thickness. So now we're going to waterproof our walls using our Prova Mat. Here's the tools we're going to need. Mixing paddle, a power drill for that mixing paddle, tape measure, a pencil or some kind of marking device, sharp knife. The trowel we're going to use is our 1/4 by 3/16 inch V-notch trowel. We're also going to need a margin trowel. We're going to need our Prova joint for doing the corners where the corners meet each other. Outside molded corners all ready to go. And inside molded corners all ready to go. Plus, of course, we're going to use our bucket of mortar. So we're going to get started. So we have our outside corners, inside corners. We can start with the inside corners first. So that's where the inside corners is going to go for the curb. The only issue I have there is because we've raised it up, the corner's too high. Well, that's easily fixed. We just cut it off. And now we're good to go. We still have our 2 inches. And I find using 2 trowels is so much easier. You can hold it in place with the one and flatten it out with the other. And again, holding it in place with the one trowel and then dragging it up the wall with the other one. Works really easy. Good. This one goes on like this. Again, we have it too tall. We got to cut it down in height. Perfect. Now we're going to do the Prova joint strip up the walls and along the floor where it meets the wall. You'll only need 2 inches of an overlap, but because these are 5 inches wide, you're going to have 2.5. All you have to do here is measure and cut, and you're good to go. I find it so much easier if you pre-crease these. It just makes it go in so much faster. So it's already set, ready to go. That's ready for the walls now. So we're back here 24 hours later. Now we're going to waterproof the walls with a Prova mat. We're going to use our 1/4 by 3/16 inch V-notch trowel. When we do the curb, I will start the curb inside the shower. Saves me using the joint strip. I will wrap it out and over, and I always recommend that you come out at least 6 inches. I've taken a lot of these apart, and the damage is always right at the outside of the curb. So if you can run the Prova mat out over that, water's not going to damage that floor. So it's a real good idea. So we're going to get at it. And I put marks on the walls up here to just give me an idea where my mortar to go. So now that all the Prova joint corners are done, we're now going to do a wall. We've already got 2 walls done. We're doing our last one here. We're spreading the mortar, polymer modified thin set mortar. And it's kind of important to trowel in straight lines. It makes it a lot easier to put the mat on and get the air out. So I'm going to place this by hand. So it comes all the way to the edge and just stays in place a little bit. I'm going to flat trowel it, but I don't want to start from one end and then go and start from the other end and come back in the middle and create bubbles. We don't want that. We want to work either from top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left. Always work in one direction, taking the bubbles and make sure they go out. So that's done. I always run my hands over to make sure I don't feel any bubbles. Something else I like to do is to wrap the Prova mat inside this niche a bit. Even though the niche is already waterproof, this just stops any wicking from the very front edge. As long as that wraps in there, we're good. So that's the first sheet done. Now I'm going to take my measuring tape and And I know the product is 39 inches, so I want to come at least 2. There's nothing wrong with going more, but nothing less. So what do we got there? 2.5. Let's go down to 3. So I've measured up as high as I want my mortar to go. And you've probably noticed the mortar is a little bit looser than normal for doing ceramic tile. It's looser because it's a lot easier to work with in this product. The transfer is much easier to make. Again, you're always working from one side to the other. Never start at both ends and come to the middle. You will create bubbles. I always run my hand over it, looking for bubbles. None in there now. I can see where the niche is. It's a darker shade here than over here, which also tells me I have good transfer. We don't have to roll it in the sides because the niche is already waterproof. So you may be thinking, do we need to add Prova joint in the inside of the Prova curb? We don't have to. We can wrap the membrane from the inside up over the curb and out onto the floor. And by doing that, it just makes it easier. And I always recommend that you take the Prova mat and you're going to take it out over the curb and onto the floor at least 6 inches. You know, this is where all the damage is going to happen from water. So if you protect this shower is going to last you for as long as you want it. Tomorrow we can start tiling. As you see, I brought that membrane, the Prova mat membrane, up out and into the bathroom area. So no water damage is going to happen here when you exit the shower. We're good to go other than doing the top. And now, let's move on to our other waterproofing solution, Prova Board Plus Tile Backer. Prova Board Plus is a lightweight, high-density tile backer board. The 100% waterproof XPS core is sandwiched between tightly woven mesh and layers of cementitious coating. XPS is extruded polystyrene cut to size. Because the board is rigid and durable, it won't flex between the studs. So when you're adding tiles on top of the other ones, the pressure on the top one will not create the bond or loosen the bond on the ones below. Prova Board Plus is available in multiple thicknesses and sheet sizes, which are all good for different applications and installations. Why is Prova Board Plus better than other solutions, including concrete board? It's non-abrasive due to it being lightweight. What I mean by that is you can carry it through a home and bump into railings and door jambs without worrying about damage or too much damage anyways. This wouldn't be the case with something that concrete board. It weighs too much. Not saying you couldn't damage railings and doors with our Prova Board Plus, but it wouldn't be as easy. Another key advantage of Prova Board Plus is its versatility. Each thickness of board provides unique use cases, as shown here. Prova board is great for walls, backsplashes, countertops, fireplaces, tub surrounds, showers, and more. We are confident in the performance of Prova Board Plus because it has exceeded some key testing requirements. For example, when tested for freeze-thaw resistance, Prova Board Plus surpassed the typical number of cycles a backer board is expected to withstand, and it did so without signs of cracking, spalling, delamination, crazing, vein-like cracks, or color shifting. The ASTM E84 testing for surface burning characteristics of building materials showed a low flame spread and smoke developed index for ProvaBoard Plus. The flame retardants in the material help slow and extinguish flame spread. Also, ProvaBoard Plus is great for supporting large format tile. It has a density of 2 pounds per cubic foot. You can use any size tile on it except when using it for flooring. For flooring, the minimum size is 2 inch by 2 inch. So now we're going to do our ProvaBoard on these walls. What you're going to need for tools, of course, you're going to need a knife, tape measure, a pencil or some kind of a marking device, a drill with a Phillips bit in it, washers, the fasteners, ProvaSeal, of course. You're going to need a caulking gun, a margin trowel, and you will need a straight edge. So anytime you're putting ProvaBoard on, you've got to always put it on with a bead of ProvaSeal. 3/8 inch thick is really good. Now, if that happened to be an outside wall, a vapor barrier wall, you can't do that. So you're going to double up your fasteners. Instead of being every 12 inches apart, they would be every 6. But these are all inside walls, so 12 inches is fine for us. But it could even be the ceiling, could be the same thing. It could be your ceiling in your second story. It would have vapor barrier. You can't use ProvaSeal up there because it's not going to stick to anything. It's not going to help. So you're going to double up your fasteners. Anytime you can't use ProvaSeal, you're going to double up your fasteners to 6 inches. So we're going to get started. So I've dry fit all my boards. I know they fit. This saves a lot of problems. There's nothing worse than you've got your ProvaSeal on your studs. You put the board on. It's a Reno. And you've left a drywall screw here from the previous shower or whatever room it was in. You put it in, you got to take it back off. The ProvaSeal, it gets everywhere. It's a mess. So by dry fitting, you know you haven't got that issue. These studs, if they're new, they are going to twist. You can't stop it. Old jobs that have been there for like 20 years, the studs probably aren't going to move. But if you put ProvaSeal on with your fasteners and that stud tries to move, it's not going to be allowed to. It's going to be on there solid. So you won't get any movement. If you get movement on a stud without ProvaSeal on it and you're only holding on with the washers and the fasteners, you could get a problem with that stud twisting so much that it actually makes the wall loose. That's not going to happen if you use ProvaSeal. So for starting up, we know we're going to go up here 4 feet. And anytime you're putting a board to a board, you're also going to run a bead of ProvaSeal right along this edge too. It's not just back in here, it's also on this edge. We'll put a heavy bead down here. You put a heavy bead along here. So now, when you put the ProvaBoard on, we don't want you to take this board and cram it down tight on the bottom or slam it tight into the back wall. It works better at 1/8 of an inch than it does at nothing. You know, 1/4 inch is fine. 1/8 inch is optimal. That's good. So again, putting about every 12 inches apart. Just want to dimple it in nice. That's good. So that's that one done. Now just to double check that it's still going to fit. Like it was made for it. Same thing again. Put it up into the top. This bottom area is the most important part. Make sure there's no voids here. Even though I know I put a heavy enough bead, it just doesn't always squeeze out this way. It can squeeze out the other way sometimes. So instead of coming forward, I went in behind. So that's the Provo board in. All I have to do now is fill all the washers with ProvoSeal, and in 30 minutes we can start tiling. You go through a lot of ProvoSeal, but you know what? It's a small amount to pay to have the job done right. Just want to make sure you haven't left any ridges. Not a big deal when you're dealing with large format tiles. Like you're dealing with mosaics, it could cause some unevenness on you. So now we're done. When I put that board on, you remember I put a heavy bead down here where the board met the bench. Same as I did the back wall there too. Well, I did the same thing over back on here. Before I put this board on, I put a heavy bead down there, put the board on. I did not cram it down, I just set it on gently. This board's the same thing. There's a heavy bead back in there. So as you can see, we set this up. We ended up at, we're going to be 1 5/16 to the center of this drain from our finished tiled wall. So that the back of this wall will be the back side of the drain. It's a really neat look. And you can only do it if you're going to do Provo board in the walls. You can't do it if you're going to do ProvoMat. All right, and our tile guideline kept all the crud out. That's why you have it on there. Do not throw away. You know, I've seen on some posts where guys they've put the Provo band along here to make that join. Never going to leak. Like that's not going to cause a problem as far as that goes. But this is a concrete surface. Concrete's going to take on moisture and it's going to wick a bit. So if you remember when we down here, we don't want to have that band because if water can get behind there, not going to leak, but you could get mold and mildew. We always say, if you use these systems, you will not have mold and mildew growing. So that is not something we recommend. You don't need it. I have built up boxes with ProvoSeal and Provo board strictly, filled it with water and let it sit and it does not leak. So we know this works. So do not put the band there. That's not our recommendation. So now we're going to do a complete waterproof steam shower. Tools we're going to need a knife, a pencil or some kind of marking device, a tape measure, margin trowel, the V-notch trowel, the 1/4 3/16 for doing the ProvoMat. Going to need a mixing paddle. Going to need a mixer. Makes it a lot easier. We will need a drill for putting the board on, the fasteners, which is the washer part, and the threaded screw, We'll also need some ProvaSeal, and we will need a straight edge. We've already got the board on, so this is actually could be just a shower. But now we're going to make it into a steam shower by putting on our ProvaMat. The Prova board has an R value, so that keeps the heat side, the steam shower side, from going on to the cold cavity side. So the heat from the steam shower is not going to go through the wall and condensate in the back in the cold cavity, causing some condensation and possibly rot, mold, mildew. So this is really a great system for doing a steam shower. And these are residential steam showers. These are not the commercial ones that go 24/7. These are intermittent use. Now I'm going to install the Prova corner. This is an inside corner. We also have outside corners. Troweling with a polymer modified thin set mortar. Just set it in place. I find it's a lot easier now to put these in, to fasten them in by using two trowels. You put the bottom trowel down that holds it in place, and you drag up with a margin trowel. You want to make sure you put the margin trowel the way I've held it. You can put more pressure on it and squeeze that mortar out. That decreases your buildup. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the Prova joint where the wall meets our bench. And as you can see, it's pre-creased. I have creased it myself. Just a lot easier to set it in place. That way you're going to make sure you get your 2-inch overlap. You won't have it too high on one side of the wall or too low on the other. And I find the small margin trowel works well for these to flatten it in place. Scrape out your mortar. You're good to go. The bottom where the board meets the ProvaMat, this is a different situation. This is really a backer board now that we are going to cover with ProvaMat. So we're always going to use our membrane at the bottom, joint strip at the joints, and mat over top. So we don't, I know we don't want to do that with Prova board to mat, but when we're going Prova board or ProvaMat to ProvaMat, we do want to do that. So that's our first piece of ProvaMat on. Finish that wall up there. Then we can put our Prova joint in this corner. Finish this wall after we put on our outside Prova joint there, the Prova corners. Once that's all done, this shower is ready for steam. Other than putting the glass on here, the door, we're good to go. It's a steam shower, which means you have to do the floor, the walls, and the ceiling with ProvaMat. That's not a lot of fun, but it has to be done. You're going to drop mortar, protect your stuff down below here, but you have to put the ProvaMat on the ceiling also because it's a steam shower. It's a room that steam is being pumped into, and all it wants to do is get out. So you have to do the ceiling also. Whether you do it first or last is up to you. That covers it for our webinar on Prova waterproofing. To recap, we discussed all the benefits of our membrane and backer board products. We explained and detailed their benefits over other installation methods, such as liquid applied waterproofing membrane or concrete board. And we went over how easy and efficient it is to use products to waterproof shower systems or steam showers. The learning doesn't stop here though. This was just one video on some of our Prova products, but we are always innovating on our offerings and updating our installation methods to meet the changing needs of installers and industry standards. Please join me and watch our other videos in this series, where I go over topics like shower-based designs, tile underlayment systems, mortar types, and installation techniques. I'll see you there.